And today we're gonna talk about in, at, and on. For example, David, how could you say en mi habitación?
In my room.
En la cocina.
In the kitchen.
En mi casa.
In my house.
En una carta.
In a letter.
And what happened if I say in the street?
In the street would mean like you're in the middle of the street.
En un hospital.
You can say in the hospital or at the hospital. If you say you're in the hospital, it's more likely to mean that you are like hurt or sick, and that's why you're in the hospital. Or if you're at the hospital, it sounds more like you're just visiting. You can also say, if you're in the hospital, you can say you've been hospitalized. It's more formal though.
Encarcelado.
Okay, it could mean encarcelado is in prison. And if you're in prison, that means you are like a prisoner. But if you're at prison, then you are just visiting.
En una fila.
In line.
What about in queue?
That's British.
How would you say comí tacos 3 días seguidos?
I ate tacos 3 days in a row.
En el jardín.
In the garden.
En una carrera.
In a race.
En un sillón.
In a chair.
En una canasta.
In a basket.
En una foto.
In a photo.
En el mundo.
In the world.
En un vestidor.
You could say in a dresser or on the dresser.
And what's the difference?
Like in the dresser would be like in the drawer, or on the dresser would be something on top of the dresser.
En el espejo.
So you could say like, I see myself in the mirror, or I see a fly on the mirror.
En el centro.
In America we say in downtown. In Britain they say in the city center.
En mi bolsillo.
In my pocket.
En mi cartera.
In my wallet.
En el pasado.
In the past.
En el futuro.
In the future.
En 3 horas.
In 3 hours.
En un momento.
In a moment.
En una semana.
In a week.
En Iztapalapa.
In Instituto.
And how would you say en Iztapalapa en la colonia Constitución?
In Instituto district in Constitution.
And when we talk about countries or cities, how would you say vivo en Londres?
I live in London.
Este es Colombia, así que estamos en Colombia.
This is Colombia, and so we're in Colombia.
And when we talk about specific parts of the day, how would you say en la mañana?
In the morning.
En la tarde?
In the afternoon.
En la noche?
At night.
Ajá. Porque nosotros decimos tarde noche. Ajá.
Okay.
We say tarde noche. But it's evening. And what's the difference between in the night and at night?
Okay, hold on. In the night? That sounds weird. You mean like last in the night? Like as some sort of metaphor? Like.
Which is the correct one? In the night or at night?
At night. In the night sounds weird.
And when we talk about months, how would you say en enero?
In January.
And for years, how would you say en 1981?
In 1981.
En verano.
In summer.
En un río.
In a river.
En el océano.
In the ocean.
En la lluvia.
In the rain.
En la niebla.
In the fog.
En la nieve.
In the snow.
En un taxi.
In a taxi.
En un carro.
In a car.
En un libro.
In a book.
En el periódico.
In the newspaper.
En una carta.
In a letter.
En un email.
In an email.
En unos minutos.
In a few minutes.
En 2 semanas.
In 2 weeks.
That's it. Now let's talk about at. For example, how would you say en casa?
At home.
A medianoche.
At midnight.
En el trabajo.
At work.
En la cima de una montaña.
¿Qué? No te rías. Tiene que ser natural, tiene que ser. Ok, otra vez, vuelves a empezar con la de la casa.
¡La mosca!
Cállate.
¿Por qué te acercas así?
Tiene que ser natural.
En la cima de una montaña.
You can say on top of a mountain or at the top of a mountain.
En el fondo del océano.
At the bottom of the ocean.
Al final.
At the end. You can say at the end or in the end.
And what's the difference?
In the end is more like in summary. At the end is more specific, like you say at the end of the day. You always just say or at the end of the game or at the end of whatever. Whereas you can just say in the end.
Al principio.
In the beginning or at the beginning.
And what's the difference?
They're the same. But at the beginning, when you use at, it's always more specific.
En el frente.
At the front or in front.
A la hora de dormir.
At bedtime.
Al mismo tiempo.
At the same time.
A las 12 en punto.
2 o'clock sharp.
En Navidad.
Say on Christmas.
On Christmas Day. On Easter.
On Easter.
On Easter. Okay.
A mediodía.
At noon.
A la hora de comer.
At dinner time.
Or lunchtime.
Or lunchtime. At lunchtime. At breakfast time.
Al amanecer.
In the morning? Or at sunrise? What?
At sunrise.
Okay.
At sunrise. A los 10 años.
At 10 years old? Or at 10 years.
El fin de semana.
In America we say on the weekend. In the UK they say at the weekend.
And lastly, on. How did you say en la calle?
On the street, or you could also say in the street, but if you say in the street, it means that you're in the middle of the street.
En la mesa.
On the table.
En la séptima avenida.
On 7th Avenue.
En el mapa.
On the map.
En el librero.
On the shelf.
En una isla.
On an island.
En su cara.
On your face.
En su nariz.
You could say on your nose or in your nose.
En la boca.
You could say on your mouth or in your mouth.
En el oído.
You could say on your ear or in your ear.
En el autobús.
On the bus.
En un avión.
On a plane.
En un barco.
On a boat or ship.
En el techo.
On the roof.
En la silla.
On a chair.
And when we talk about communication, en el radio.
On the radio.
En internet.
On the internet.
En el teléfono.
On the phone.
En mi tablet.
On my tablet.
En la playa.
You could say on the beach or at the beach.
And if I say in the beach?
Well, it sounds like you're like buried in the sand or something. It sounds weird. I wouldn't say it. Don't say it in the beach.
And if I'm looking for shells and I found them, what do I have to say? In the sand or on the sand?
You'd say I found a shell in the sand.
Thank you. Okay, next. When we talk about specific days, for example, el 3 de mayo,
On May 3rd.
en el día de mi boda,
On my wedding day.
en mi cumpleaños,
On my birthday.
el primer día,
On the first day.
en el último día,
On the last day.
en un día frío.
On a cold day.
When we talk about days of the week,
Which preposition do you use?
Ah, ok, pero ahí es hora que me dijeras, oh, we have to say on Monday. Oh. No, sí, se me queda bien, sí.
Okay.
And when we talk about days of the week,
We always use the word on. So on Monday, on Wednesday, and so on.
and how would you say a tiempo?
On time.
Días de la semana?
On weekdays.
Okay, now let's start with common phrases using in, at, on. For example, vamos a pie.
Let's go on foot. Or you can say let's go by foot.
Vámonos en taxi.
Let's go in a taxi.
Vamos a subirnos al taxi.
Let's get in the taxi.
And if I want to say, quiero subirme a un juego mecánico.
Do you want to get on the ride?
And if I'm talking about my address,
If you're talking about like a specific address, you would say you'd use the word at. So like at 317 Margaret Street.
and finally, how would you say, la escuela está en la calle Constitución?
The school is on Constitution Street.
He got mud and water. He want more joke.